Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Be sure to check out Dragon Shield for all of the best accessories to protect your decks. TCGPLAYER for cards at great prices while supporting local game stores. And Patreon, where you get awesome benefits for your direct support. Our patron PYRO is back for another game. He brought back fan favorite Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, to battle the Playing with Power team. The team is ready though, and is prepared to give PYRO a good fight. Our newest playmat is available for pre-order. This playmat is only available to purchase through the month of September, then it's gone forever. Check out the link in the description below to purchase yours and help out the channel in the process. Our patrons are able to order the playmat early, and some tiers even get discounts on merchandise. So be sure to sign up to our Patreon and get early access to merchandise and then get them at a discount too. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Ryan, piloting Yidris, Maelstrom Wielder. This is a manual storm deck leveraging its commander to build a tremendous storm count and kill the table. Ryan's opening hand contains an Aetherflux Reservoir, Farseek, Turnabout, Pyretic Ritual, Ponder, Volcanic Island, and an Arid Mesa. Next, we have PYRO, piloting Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. This deck seeks to generate massive amounts of mana to cast large, overwhelming creatures and win the game. PYRO's opening hand contains a Scale Up, Veil of Summer, Natural Order, Elvish Mystic, and 3 snow-covered forests. After that, we have Adam, piloting Kenrith, the Return King. This deck is an Ad Nauseam deck that seeks to resolve an Ad Nauseam to find one of its win cons to close out the game. Adam's opening hand contains a Savine's Reclamation, Swan Song, Birds of Paradise, Mox Diamond, Noble Hierarch, Bayou, and a City of Brass. Finally, we have Zach, piloting Daretti, Scrap Savant. This is a layered combo deck that seeks to slow down the board with stacks and assemble one of many combos that share interwoven parts. Zach's opening hand contains a City of Traders, Mountain, Arcane Signet, Cursed Mirror, Dockside Extortionist, Magus of the Moon, and a Rolling Earthquake. Without further ado, let's begin this dastardly deviant duel of deranged debauchery. Ryan wins the Salt and Ice Challenge and gets to start us off. Ryan draws a card for turn and plays a Volcanic Island. He suspends Ancestral Vision from his hand with 4 time counters on it. Ryan passes. PYRO draws a card for turn and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He casts an Elvish Mystic. He passes. Adam draws and plays a Bayou. He casts a Mox Diamond, discarding City of Brass. He casts Birds of Paradise. He casts a Noble Hierarch. Adam ends his turn. Zach draws and plays a City of Traders. He casts an Arcane Signet. He casts a Lotus Petal. He cracks his petal to cast Rolling Earthquake, where X equals 1. All the dorks on the battlefield die, and each player takes 1. With nothing else, Zach ends his turn. During his upkeep, Ryan removes a Suspend counter from Ancestral Vision. He draws and plays an Arid Mesa for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Taiga onto the battlefield. He casts Farseek. Farseek resolves, and he fetches up a Watery Grave onto the battlefield tapped. With nothing else, Ryan ships his turn. PYRO draws and plays a Blast Zone. He passes. Adam draws and plays a Tundra. He also passes. Zach draws and starts off his turn by casting Magus of the Moon. Both Ryan and Adam sigh, and Magus resolves. Zach plays a Mountain for turn. Zach passes. During his upkeep, Ryan removes a Suspend counter from Ancestral Vision. He draws and plays a Marsh Flats for turn. He casts an Aetherflux Reservoir. Ryan ends his turn. PYRO draws and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He casts his commander, Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. PYRO ships his turn. Adam draws and plays an Ancient Tomb. He does nothing else and passes. Zach draws and also plays an Ancient Tomb. He casts his commander, Daretti, Scrap Savant. He activates Daretti's first ability, discarding Mycosynth Lattice and drawing a card. Finished up, Zach passes the turn. During his upkeep, Ryan removes a Suspend counter from Ancestral Vision. He draws and plays a Forest. Shut off from the Magus of the Moon, Ryan passes. PYRO draws and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He activates Selvala, adding 2 green. He casts Nissa, who shakes the world. He activates Nissa's first ability, targeting his Snow-Covered Forest, turning it into a 3/3 elemental with Vigilance and Haste. He attacks Daretti with his Forest. Zach blocks with his Magus of the Moon. Magus dies, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief that they can play Magic again. With nothing else, PYRO passes the turn. Adam draws and plays a Morphic Pool. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast his commander, Kenrith, the Return King. He considers giving Kenrith haste and attacking, but decides to pass his turn instead. Zach draws and casts Goblin Matron. Matron enters, and Zach fetches up a Goblin Engineer into his hand. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast Dockside Extortionist. It enters, and Zach creates 2 treasures. He casts a Mox Opal. He casts Goblin Engineer. It enters, and Zach fetches up a Cursed Totem into his graveyard. Zach activates Daretti's second ability, sacrificing Mox Opal and putting Cursed Totem onto the battlefield. Adam and Pyro look at their commanders in dismay, and then Zach passes the turn. At the end of Zach's turn, Ryan cracks his Marsh Flats, pays a life, and fetches up a Blood Crypt onto the battlefield tapped. During his upkeep, Ryan removes the last counter from Ancestral Vision and casts it. Aetherflux triggers and Ryan gains 1 life. Then Ryan draws 3 cards. Ryan draws for turn and starts off by casting his commander, Yidris, Maelstrom Wielder. Aetherflux triggers and Ryan gains 2 life. He casts a Mystic Remora. Aetherflux triggers again and Ryan gains 3. In response, Adam casts Swan Song, targeting Remora. Remora is countered and Ryan creates a 2/2 bird. All through, Ryan passes. Pyro draws and starts off his turn by casting Mox Amber. He activates Nisa's first ability, targeting nothing. He casts Natural Order, sacrificing Selvala. It resolves and Pyro fetches up a Terastodon onto the battlefield. Terastodon triggers and Pyro destroys Aetherflux Reservoir, Daretti, and Cursed Totem. Zach creates 2 3/3 elephants and Ryan creates 1. With nothing else, Pyro passes. Adam draws and plays a Watery Grave, into play untapped, paying 2 life. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast Peer into the Abyss. Peer resolves, Adam draws 44 cards and loses half of his life. Adam casts a Mana Crypt. He exiles Elvish Spirit Guide from his hand for a green. He casts Carpet of Flowers. He exiles Sivian Spirit Guide from his hand to cast Gamble. He fetches up a card into his hand and then discards a card at random, which is a Lion's Eye Diamond. In an ironic twist of fate, that was the card that he tutored for. He moves to a second main phase and adds 2 red from his carpet. He casts Underworld Breach. He escapes Lion's Eye Diamond from his graveyard. He sacrifices LED, discarding his massive hand and adding 3 blue. He casts LED repeatedly from his graveyard, adding more and more mana and increasing his storm count. He then escapes Brain Freeze from his graveyard with a storm count of 20, targeting himself with every copy. He mills the rest of his deck. He continues to escape Brain Freeze from his graveyard to mill each of his opponents. He mills all of Zach's library, then all of Ryan's library. He then mills Pyro's library, but that's when Pyro mills Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. Both Titans trigger, and Pyro shuffles his graveyard back into his library. Now, Adam must think of another way to kill Pyro. He escapes Praetor's Grasp from his graveyard, targeting Pyro. In response, Pyro casts Veil of Summer. In response, Adam escapes Mental Misstep from his graveyard, targeting Veil. Veil is countered and Grasp resolves. Adam removes one of the Shuffle Titans from Pyro's library. Adam then escapes Praetor's Grasp again, removing the other Titan. Adam then proceeds to escape Brain Freeze again, milling Pyro's entire library. Staring down 3 empty libraries, Adam passes the turn to have each player deck themselves. During his upkeep, Zach activates Goblin Engineer, sacrificing Arcane Signet and returning Perpetual Timepiece to the battlefield. He activates Timepiece, exiling it and putting Underworld Breach back into his library. Zach draws for turn, which is his Underworld Breach, and Adam realizes he made a huge mistake. Zach taps his Ancient Tomb to cast Underworld Breach. He escapes Chrome Mox from his graveyard. It enters, and Zach imprints Cursed Mirror. Now, none of us caught this, but you can't actually imprint that under Chrome Mox. Magic is hard. He escapes Sol Ring from his graveyard. He escapes Mana Vault. He escapes Basalt Monolith. He escapes Lion's Eye Diamond. He sacrifices it, discarding his hand and adding 3 red. He escapes Rings of Brighthearth. He activates Basalt Monolith, adding 3 colorless. He activates Basalt Monolith's second ability and copies it with Rings of Brighthearth. He then presents a loop of generating infinite mana using Basalt and Rings of Brighthearth. He escapes Walking Ballista from his graveyard for 69,420. He activates Ballista, machine gunning the table, and winning the game. What a wild game. Let's do another, shall we? In this game, Pyro brings back Selvala, and his opening hand contains a Birds of Paradise, Phyrexian Dreadnought, Apex Devastator, Eternal Witness, Snow-Covered Forest, Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and an Elvish Spirit Guide. Adam brings back Kenrith, and his opening hand contains a Dockside Extortionist, Talisman of Progress, Carpet of Flowers, Island, Windswept Heath, Command Tower, and his London Mulligan is a Watery Grave. Zach brings back Daretti, and his opening hand contains an Inventor's Fair, Mana Vault, Mox Opal, Grim Monolith, Mere Retriever, Thrill of Possibility, and a Conspiracy Theorist. Ryan brings back Yidris, and his opening hand contains a Mox Tantalite, Lightning Greaves, Tropical Island, Bloodstained Mire, Noxious Revival, Underground Sea, and his London Mulligan is a Snap. And Pyro gets to start us off. Pyro draws and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He casts a Birds of Paradise. Pyro passes. Adam draws and plays a command tower. He casts a Carpet of Flowers. He passes. Zach draws and plays an Inventor's Fair. He casts a Mana Vault. He casts a Grim Monolith. He casts a Mox Opal. He casts a Conspiracy Theorist. He casts a Jeweled Amulet. Everyone is now worried about Zach, and he gives the turn to Ryan. Ryan draws and plays an Underground Sea. He suspends Mox Tantalite from his hand with 3 time counters on it. Ryan ends his turn. Pyro draws and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He casts his commander, Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Pyro passes. Adam draws, and in his first main phase, he adds 1 red through his carpet. He casts a Talisman of Progress. He plays a Windswept Heath for turn. He passes. During his upkeep, Zach gains a life through Inventor's Fair. During his draw step, he takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He moves to combat and attacks Adam with his Conspiracy Theorist. It triggers, Zach pays 1, and discards a Mirror Retriever and draws a card. Adam takes the hit, and in his second main phase, Zach plays a Mountain. He casts an Arcane Signet. He casts his commander, Daretti, Scrap Savant. He activates Daretti's second ability, sacrificing Mana Vault and returning Mirror Retriever to the battlefield. All through, Zach passes. During his upkeep, Ryan removes a time counter from Mox Tantalite. He draws and plays a Tropical Island. He casts Lightning Greaves. Ryan passes. Pyro draws and plays a Snow-Covered Forest. He casts a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Dreadnought enters, and with the trigger on the stack, Pyro taps Selvala to add 12 green. Then Phyrexian Dreadnought is sacrificed. Pyro then uses some of that mana to cast Apex Devastator. He cascades 4 times. He cascades until he hits Thought-Knot Seer and casts it. It enters, Pyro chooses Adam, and Adam reveals his hand, which includes Notion Thief and Dockside Extortionist. Pyro exiles Dockside. Then Pyro draws a card through Selvala. Pyro cascades again until he hits Asceticism and casts it. He cascades again until he hits Craterhoof Behemoth and casts it. It enters, Pyro draws through Selvala, then Craterhoof gives his creatures +4/+4 and trample. He cascades 1 last time until he hits Autumn's Veil and casts it. Finally, Apex Devastator resolves, and Pyro draws again through Selvala. Pyro casts 1000-Year Elixir. He activates Elixir to untap Selvala. He taps Selvala for 10 green. He casts Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. He draws 4 cards through Kozilek. It resolves, and Pyro draws through Selvala. Pyro attacks Daretti with Craterhoof Behemoth. Zach blocks with Mirror Retriever. Daretti dies, and Mirror Retriever dies. Mirror Retriever triggers, and Zach returns Mana Vault to his hand. All through, and in a really good spot, Pyro passes the turn. At the end of Pyro's turn, Adam cracks his Windswept Heath, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. Then Pyro discards the hand size. Adam draws and plays an Underground Sea. He passes. During his upkeep, Zach gains a life through Inventor's Fair. He draws, and then casts Thrill of Possibility, discarding a card as an additional cost. In response, Adam flashes in Notion Thief. This is when Zach remembered that Notion Thief was revealed on Pyro's turn with Thought-Knot Seer. Zach, a little upset with himself, has no response to Notion Thief as it resolves. Adam draws 2 cards. Zach casts a Mana Vault and gives the turn to Ryan. During his upkeep, Ryan removes a counter from Mox Tantalite. He draws and plays a Bloodstained Mire. Ryan ends his turn. Pyro draws and plays a Blast Zone. He activates Selvala for 12 green. He casts Finale of Devastation, where X equals 10. He fetches up a Temur Sabertooth onto the battlefield. Then Finale gives all of his creatures +10/+10 and haste. He activates 1000-Year Elixir, untapping Selvala. He then retaps Selvala, adding 22 green. He casts Eternal Witness. Witness enters, and Pyro returns Finale of Devastation to his hand. He casts Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. He recasts Finale, where X equals 1. He fetches up a Quirion Ranger onto the battlefield. He activates Quirion Ranger, returning itself to its hand, since it's a forest through Ashaya, to untap Selvala. He taps Selvala for more mana and recasts Quirion Ranger. With this loop, he can generate infinite mana. He activates Temur Sabertooth, returning Craterhoof Behemoth to his hand. He casts Craterhoof Behemoth. He repeats this loop over and over, making his creatures infinitely large. He attacks each opponent, killing them and winning the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great set of games. Congrats to Zach and Pyro on their wins. Adam thought he had the win when he passed the turn. However, Zach's knowledge of his deck and his lines were able to save him and take the game. Pyro's deck, once again, was more than the table could handle and overwhelmed everyone very quickly. The most valuable card in the first game, at first we thought should go to Magus of the Moon. However, the most valuable card in that game goes to Underworld Breach. Both players use this card to go for their wins. Being able to repeatedly recast your cards in your graveyard is an absolutely broken mechanic. The most valuable card in the second game goes to Finale of Devastation. PYRO was able to grab 2 key pieces of his combo through his card. This card fetches up creatures, gives recursion, and doubles as a win con. It's an amazing card that is well deserving of our top spot tonight. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Alright, Patreon shoutout time. I'd like to give a shout out to Alana Kexes, Salt, Jonas Kofoed, Ryan Wright, Kvitborn Kong Valamon. Ooh, that's brutal. Sorry about that. Natalia Rubinovitz, Ivan, through Marion Descendant, Frapril, Connor Holtz, Nathan Smith, Elijah Miller, Pyro, Dark, Mr. Doc Profoliol McSwaggy Pants the Third. Oh boy. Philip Hickey, Jacob Cromer, Brad Tobin, Matt Wingrove, Delph Driz, Dante, Jared Smith, Trey Payne, Rakeko, Zods, James Cody Halley, Spielrahu, CZ, Taylor Corun, Nick, and Liam. Thank you all very much for your support.